to the last point of the show. And this one is one that is actually, I've come up with this point in honor of you, Magix, because I think you are one of the best examples of what I'm about to describe. And so it's the concept that in the modern day, we have all these different stats. And part of having all these different stats is they feed them into the HLTV rating. So that actually, in theory, it's a formula. Look, I'm sure it's made with good intentions. They're trying to actually balance it. They've even changed it to, 1.0, 2.0, 2.1. There's going to be a 3.0. If you've seen, by the way, they've intentionally tried to change it how people want. So, for example, everyone who hated on James because he saved all the time, if you saw it, his rankings went down if you go in 2.1. They've made it so you can't just save as much if you're not going to do anything. They're trying to make it so this rating approximates how well you played. It's almost like an expert, but it's a computer looking at different factors and doing a calculation, and it comes out with a number. But the problem goes like this. At the end, when it puts the number out, I think people really in Counter-Strike forget that it was a formula and that a human decided which metric matters more and, which one gets half or double or two times. And they forget that, and they almost act like it's not the scoreboard, how many frags you got, how many rounds you... They think it's just the number. And one of the weird things people do is they really think that someone with the higher HLT rating always played better than the player with the lower HLTV rating. And my issue with that is that doesn't even work for certain roles. Maybe that works for, I don't know, the superstar player who just is killing everyone. Maybe that can sort of tell you who was better. Like this guy was a lot better because, he had like 0.2 higher rating than the other guy. That's a massive gap. Yeah, that probably means I played really well and you played really bad if we have the difference. But I actually think for people like you, Magix, and actually even though he has a similar name, back in CS2, I always thought in Vitality, Magisk, the player for Vitality, these are players that rating doesn't work to show you if they were good or played better. Because I always used to think Magisk in Vitality would have like a 1.07 rating, which sounds like nothing. But then you'd watch the game and he would like control the whole T side. He'd have like the key kill in the middle of the game, or he'd like hold a position and get like a key flank kill off, or he'd push through. And then you watch the game. Look, he's never getting a 3K. He'd never have a highlight that was going to be some crazy shit. But you watch the game and you're like, he was like the second best player on their team. But then the ranking would tell you 1.07, like, oh, he's getting carried. Oh, he's not even a good player. Like Zimu's just got no help, etc. I would be like, no help. This guy's fucking probably the best anchor player in the world. So I think for you, if people think how you played that major final, Magix, in that final, yes, you also had the life game. You did like shoot them all in the head with the AK. But I noticed actually, even when you were having the life game, you didn't change your playing style. You don't do the thing where you constantly jiggle pick and just take every duel. You're playing for time, or you're moving around the box to draw him in and get the other person so you can shoot them, or you're doing crazy moves with like movement stuff, or you're going on top of the hut and then dropping down. You're doing all these extra things that don't show up on the scoreboard and can actually affect the game. Like some of those moves in that first map of the final was definitely fucking FaZe Clan up. My favourite one ever was the one where you went lower on Nuke and you were behind the silo and they were going to come two people down the ramp and they wanted to plant the bomb. Now, normal player, I can tell you, Magix, if I just get a young player out of FPL or just a star rifler, they're going to peak that instantly because they think, I'm going to headshot him. And then they think when they headshot, I've won the round. You actually guaranteed the round was won because you never ever let them fight you. You just drew them in and peaked them, so they had to keep going around the silo like this. And by the time they got down there, it wouldn't have mattered if they'd have killed you. Your teammate can be there and they couldn't plant the bomb. Like, that doesn't show up on the scoreboard because the scoreboard can't see the kills. It can't see, like, there's no metric for, like, delayed the opponent or wasted his time or made him do a misrotate. That doesn't exist in the game. So I feel like people will look at the game and sometimes a player that just fragged has like a 1.12 rating and they're like, wow, he had a really good game. But maybe Magix, or back in the day, one of my favourites obviously was Perfecto or Navi, or you can go with Inters on the old Cloud9. Sometimes these guys do a move that can't show on a scoreboard, but it wins you a round in a game even, or keeps you in a half, or makes a site just harder to take. So what do you think about this aspect? Obviously it plays very well to you because you're not the stats monster normally except for the final. What do you think of this aspect?
That's a good point. I think that like on these modern days, stats are more of a brought up to talk shit or praise the player, not to be like counting the actual impact in any specific role or any specific player. So it's just made for the community to be a topic to talk on, you know, so they can like make more threads, more noticing, whatever is needed, and they're not like bringing any value. And actually, like, I think if you really want to compare the stats, you cannot be playing the players playing different positions or
Yes.
roles. I do say that the roles and the positions are a different thing, because you can be playing the same position, like in example on this side on some map, you can be playing the same position as some player, but your role might be different. Maybe if you're a second caller, you're bringing up an idea and you're using the people to make your idea happen. You're more probably to get a kill on that, maybe, or to play it perfectly. Compared to the player who is just following on a call. Like an example, your role might be the first guy going onto the late round exacts, and it's like not something where you can bring up a stats, but in the beginning of the round you are just maybe a lobby lurker,
Right.
Yeah, and it's it's a hard thing, but if you do want to compare the players, you have to count that also, that there's a roles, there's a positions, and there's a tasks that players have to do. And if you want to compare me an example, you have to be using like some Maisie Norbert players,
Right.
because they're also guys who are like playing bad spots and going into the T side. They're not playing the star positions, and they're like being used like on exec to like make space usually, then they go out and kill multiple players, because there's a lot of different scenarios. And also the one more problem of the rating itself is that actually I think it's the biggest issue of current rating is there's no difference if you get a kill on eco or on bar round.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all seen the stats. I think it was Ime. I think that the gun round stats are the most important thing that should be affecting your rating. It's when you're playing M4 against an AK,
Yes.
it's like the actual round which matters. And if you kill 5 fucking logs with M4, why does it inflate your rating
Sure.
that hard? Because I think it was like below 1.1 rating on by rounds for him, and 1.7 against half by or eco, and that's making his average rating being 1.15, 1.20, and it affects his like
Yes.
overall stats in terms of.
I mean, I have the numbers. It was at Rio where HLTV gave him the MVP. He on full buy gun rounds he had a 1.06, and on full buy versus ecos 1.73.
Fucking hell.
So it's just so
And
those rounds
you just think of this. Think of what his best map is, Mirage, where he plays Connector. That's Glock City. You're just getting run down by people rushing you. Come from under. That's where you get like 3Ks and 4Ks all day long against eco, of course. Yeah.
I mean, at the same tournament, for comparison's sake, like I forgot what I thought at the time. I forgot if I thought Bit or JL was going to win it, honestly. But both of them on gun rounds Bit had a 1.29 on gun rounds in that tournament, which is insane.
That's
and
mental.
then JL had a 1.20 on gun rounds at that tournament. And it's like they didn't farm as hard on ecos. Like for example, Bit had a 1.38, but it's like Ema just did so well on anti-ecos that he ended up with the highest rating at the tournament.
Yes.
It's just like Put
it this way, here's the obvious example. I agree with you. Like, if that makes it inflated to the point he has like a 1.2 rating, this is why you can't just compare directly. That makes it sound like he's fucking Nico. And look, him as a good player, but he's not Nico. Like, I don't care. If Nico has a 1.2 rating, it's going to be some fucking insane shit in that bit. It's going to be like a frag movie itself.
This is important also because I've seen Magix watching his demo on like Ancient, just on A. He'll just like buy time, and then Chopper will rotate in with an MP9 and get all the kills, and Magix gets 0 kills but used all of his grenades.
Also, there's another thing.
I've literally seen this happen.
I think he made a really great point as well. People think that like the position is the role, Magix, you're right. Whereas like another thing about your play is like sometimes on CT side, you're holding like floor of nuke with an MP9. It's like I'd much rather have an M4 there and be the star player, of course.
Not sometimes. It's always MP9.
Okay.
Sometimes I have matches or tournaments where I don't remember playing M4. But I'm fine.
Yeah, I agree. Good one. Yeah, exactly, because Shiro needs that AWP. We all know it. We've got to get Shiro's AWP. It's important. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.